Scott Abraham, anchor and sports director for ABC7, is now joining us. Scott, good morning.
Cakes, how you holding up, big guy?
I'm doing good, man. Doing all right. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Obviously you're following this team as you have been throughout the entire season. Before we talk about this game upcoming and what's going on with Kliff, just give us the vibe check on how much different it is for you and the other members of the media with Dan Quinn in charge, Adam Peters there, the Harris ownership group, how different it is from the end of the Snyder tenure and era here that you obviously covered as well.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun going there every Wednesday and Thursday during the week, especially in December and now in January, to know that there's meaningful football, like there's meaningful football games being played. And that hasn't been the case year after year with the Rivera era. And just to see the players reinvigorated and knowing what's on the line. Like you think of the Terry McLaurins, you think of the Jeremy Reeves and the Sam Cosmes that have been through kind of really the dark days, and to see them get the opportunity and get the chance to play some serious football games. They've been a lot of fun to talk to, and they're much more open and willing and engaging. It makes our job easier, and just kind of the culture, the tone, and the professionalism in that building now is such a big change from years past.
You mentioned Reeves. Very cool that he set up the proposal to his longtime girlfriend there at Northwest Stadium. I'm guessing everybody was basically taken by surprise by that unfolding at the end of the Atlanta game, correct?
Yeah, I talked to Revo after the game, and because I was curious, like, would you have proposed if you lost? And he was like, "No, dude, no. There's no chance I was going to propose if we lost the game." So it was like a perfect storm. Like he knew he was going to do it if they beat Atlanta, and he kind of walked me through it in terms of, his now fiance was in the stands, and he had to get security to kind of carry her down onto the field, and he had one of Commander's media personnel holding his ring the entire game, and he had it all planned out, and he was wearing hand warmers around his waist. In 60-degree weather to kind of hide the ring when she came down. So it was well planned out, and it was a great moment, certainly for Revo and for his now fiance. And what a day for Revo, because you win a football game to make the playoffs, and now you get engaged. So it was awesome.
So, Scott, I'm on your Twitter, at Scott7News. This is from yesterday. So the big story over the past few days has been Kliff Kingsbury. Is he going to be here after just the 1 year? Because he's going to be a hot commodity out on the coaching market. This offense has been buzzing all season long. Top 5 in the league in scoring at almost 29 points per game. He said, his quote is, at some point he wants to be an NFL head coach again. What is the sense that you're getting as far as, is Kliff going to be here past this year, or do you think he is attracted by one of these head coaching jobs this offseason cycle?
Listen, I think he's going to be selective, and he has a right to be selective. He's been through it already as a head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He knows what type of situation he wants to get himself into. And what I really appreciated about Kliff's back and forth with Sam Fortier of the Washington Post during the press conferences, he said he fell in love with football again. He fell in love with the game again coming here to Washington, and this was a perfect restart for him to kind of get his footing and figure out what path and what he wants to do in this sport. And he deserves a second chance. I'm a believer in second chances in any walk of life. And it didn't work out in Arizona, but he's come here to Washington and done a phenomenal job with the offense, with the young rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to get interviews. It's going to be up to Kliff to figure out, if he gets offered the job, if it's the right situation for him. Fallback plan here in Washington, not a bad fallback plan where you have a year number 2 in Jaden Daniels. You're probably going to get more pieces on the offense. Mm-hmm. So Kliff Kingsbury's in a great position, and he's still getting paid by the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. Like you said, that he can and should be selective. Like, if he's already getting paid like a head coach, like, why would you jump at something that's suboptimal? Yep. Like, he can kind of be like Ben Johnson in Detroit, where Ben Johnson, he has his basically pick of whatever NFL job he wants, but he's thriving in that ecosystem in Detroit. And if like as you mentioned, if there are more pieces and better talent brought in around Jaden Daniels and around who you already have, and you're filtering out some of these 1 year kind of cast off guys, these late training camp pickup guys. Like, if I were Kliff, I'd be intrigued by what I could do in year 2 here in Washington.
Absolutely. But I also look at, let's say like the Chicago Bears job, that's opened up. He obviously has a relationship with Caleb Williams, the quarterback there in Chicago. How intriguing is that position to Kliff working with a Caleb? Kliff's not going to leave this situation with Jaden to another team with a quarterback situation in flux where there's a question mark at the quarterback. That's not going to make any sense for Kliff Kingsbury to kind of do a reclamation project with a franchise that doesn't really have an established quarterback. Chicago might be a really good situation for Kliff because of his relationship with Caleb. They worked together at USC for a year. So I'll be curious what other jobs pop up. Maybe Miami, if they kind of part ways with Mike McDaniel. I don't know what's going to happen there, but there's some jobs, maybe the Cowboys, who knows? But I think a young quarterback like a Caleb Williams where he can grow together might be intriguing for Kliff. But like you said, it's a pretty good situation here in Washington with Jaden Daniels because it's only up from here, right? I can't see this team regressing where you're going to be able to get free agents that want to come here, want to play for Dan Quinn and Adam Peters. They're going to want to be a part of Jaden Daniels and his ascension in the NFL. So I think this is going to be a great situation going forward. And obviously Commanders fans and the coaching staff and the regime here would love to have Kliff Kingsbury return for another year.
So, Scott, for the first time in 33 years, Washington is sending their quarterback and wideout combo to the Pro Bowl as Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin get voted in there. And look, I'm happy for Jaden, but you're especially happy for Terry McLaurin, who's dealt with nothing but a revolving door of poor quarterback play since he's been in Washington. And now he finally has that franchise signal caller in Jaden. And he's just got to be looking at the rest of his career like, oh my God, I've got a stud throwing me the ball now, from age 29 until however long I want to play with him. Like, you just feel great for Terry McLaurin, and we're really seeing his potential become unlocked with Jaden Daniels under center.
Listen, he's earned every bit of it because this dude has gone through the ringer with the number of quarterbacks that he's had to deal with, the dysfunction of this franchise, and he's such a good dude, Cakes. Like, outside of the lines of outside the football field, just what he does in the community, how he handles himself, the professionalism he handles himself with the media members. He is a class act individual, and to see him get the accolades and to see him have such a banner season, so well deserved because he works his butt off. Remember, not much was expected from Terry McLaurin when he was drafted here to Washington. He was going to be maybe a special teams player, and to see him, kind of rise up to the player that he is today has been incredible. I actually talked to Urban Meyer last month because we were doing some conference together, and I was just picking his brain about Terry McLaurin, and he wasn't highly recruited. He was very low on the depth chart, and he just kept working at Ohio State, and he became an integral part of the Buckeyes. So all he does is work, and to have him paired up with Jaden Daniels now for many years to come, and let's hope Washington somehow finds a way to get a quality number 2 receiver from free agency. That's only going to help Terry McLaurin because obviously defenses are keying on Terry, making sure they limit his touches, but you bring in a true number 2 receiver, that's only going to help Terry and the offense as a whole.
Scott, what is your best guess as to how Dan Quinn approaches Sunday's game against the Cowboys? Just a few days ago, people were like, is Dan Campbell going to play his starters in a meaningless game against the Niners because everything comes down to the Lions-Vikings game? And he put the pedal down. He played his starters throughout. Goff was in there. Jahmyr Gibbs was in for the entire game. Jameson Williams. Those guys were all playing and played throughout. It wasn't like just trot them out for a quarter to get them some work. They played the whole game. Do you see Dan Quinn doing that with obviously the non-injured players that are going to be out there on Sunday?
They're going to win this football game, Cakes, and they want that 6th seed. They want a chance to maybe host an NFC championship game if, everything falls into place, which is going to be hard to do. But if they're the 6th seed, yes, there's a chance they could host AFC NFC Championship game. They want to go into the playoffs with that positive momentum. They want to continue, in a sense, running the table here these final weeks of the season. It's been a great run from beating New Orleans to beating Philly, Atlanta, and now they want to end the note against a divisional opponent with the Dallas Cowboys. And I think there's some situations they really want to work on. Number one, running the football, right? You can't just totally rely on Jaden Daniels and his legs. Get Brian Robinson Jr. going here. Run between the tackles. Show that physicality at the line of scrimmage. They couldn't run the football against the Atlanta Falcons. Let's see what they can do against the Cowboys. And number two, defensively, stopping the run. You have to stop the run in the playoffs. Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator for the Commanders, he's not pleased with his run defense. He made that known during his press conference this week. He wants to see improvement there because running the football is such a crucial layer come playoff time. So running the football, stopping the run, two layers you should watch come Sunday because those are two elements they have to work on, get better come playoff time.
Hey, Scott, behind closed doors, do you think the front office is surprised by the fact that Marshon Latimore has missed so much time since he was acquired in the trade with the Saints?
Pure speculation, I would say yes, because, I think they brought him in, knowing the contract situation. Yes, he's going to be here next year, but he was supposed to be a guy that really helps this playoff push from playoff time. I don't know he's going to be 100% for a playoff game, Cakes. I mean, that hamstring is just bothering him. He can't stay healthy, and it's a lingering issue. So I think, when Peters acquired him, the expectation was probably to get him on the field in a couple of weeks when they acquired him, and it just hasn't worked out so far. Hamstring, soft tissue injuries, they're tricky, and once you get one and you come back too soon or you do a wrong movement, you can re-aggravate it very quickly, and I think that's what's happened here with Marshon Latimore. Certainly you'd love to have him on the field, but I don't think they're going to put him out there as, if he's not 100% or if he's going to be a liability. I don't think he's going to play against Dallas. I think there might be a chance, he comes back to the playoffs and see what he can do. But, he didn't, he played a little bit against the Saints, didn't last long against the Eagles. So I'm not confident that he's going to make an impact this year. That's where I'm at with the Marshon Latimore situation.
Does Scott Abraham have a preference for the Commanders' first-round playoff opponent? Do you have somebody you want them to face?
Yeah, you guys asked me this last week, and I think they were surprised with my answer. Like, I'm not scared of Philadelphia. I know there's some fans, and I know there's some media members that would love to go to L.A. and try their luck with the Rams. Tampa, get a rematch with them from week one. But I like the familiarity with the Eagles, and then, NFC East, physical, hard-nosed, cold weather football game in January. Line it up and let's see who the best team is. They were winning into the fourth quarter of that first game in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts was playing. Everybody was playing for Philadelphia. They can go toe-to-toe with this team. You're going to have to beat a Philly. You're going to have to beat a Detroit or a Minnesota down the line anyway. So I'm not afraid of the Eagles. So I would like another – I wouldn't mind seeing Philly and Washington one more time in the wild card round in the playoffs. I think, Dan Quinn knows, what they're going to do. The Eagles know what we're going to do. It would just be a good football game, in my opinion. So they don't scare me. And I would probably go with the Eagles, my friend.
Scott, thank you for the time, man. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon. That's Scott Abraham.
All right, take care, Kate.
Thank you, man.